Right, I want to continue a bit more with the clinic review stuff because I was glad I watched that back, and when I read out the schizoid bit, I can see that I went in schizoid. That because I was saying for weeks I was going to tackle that with him, um, because it was, that's the bit that is the fucking unpleasant side of this glorious schizotypalness. Um, and it's actually sort of reassuring to just have it written down. It's just something, and it's very confusing. You're not fucking wrong. It's very confusing. Lots and lots of normal interactions, interactions can seem, or be very tricky. Can seem completely surreal. I don't know what it is. There's just a blinking stopness, and then all of the psychological shit hits after that, and suddenly I'm all like, and I feel like a dithering twat. Because I'm being a dithering twat as far as people can see, but I'm not. My head's not functioning, and it's scary. It's confusing in a frightening way. Is the only way to sort of outline it. Um, so it's nice to have it just referred to like that, and because like some of the scary stuff that was said around that, with delusional being any higher, you'd have to have full on schizophrenia, and that was from a clinical psychologist reviewing a clinically approved psychometric test. Like, fuck, because I still don't know too much about paranoid schizophrenia or the sort of full blown schizophrenia that he referred to. I don't think I want to, because I've got an overthinky fucking head. And I am my history of psychotic episodes plus is part of why it gives credibility to those test results. Those test results alone are not a diagnostic tool, but then in the light of that as well and other things, it becomes more of a much more clear indicator. Um, and I've heard, God, years and years ago, I've heard that some people say everyone sees at least one ghost or has at least one spiritual experience. Other people say everyone hears voices at least once. And I've heard them a lot more than that. But like I said, at the time, I think it was a Facebook video at the time that I put it up on, that I had said about feeling pointless and feeling that there's no sense of hope, because I just think what can actually happen. It's not that the hope isn't there. If I could do da 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 da. And I'd also said that I do get voices in my head. I have had voices in my head. And he didn't put me in hospital. And that's actually quite sort of reassuring. Um, because that's the sort of pathway that and I don't know and don't want to know how close I'm getting or have been. I know I've been in some very, very peculiar states of mind that affect the way everything's inputting and outputting and the way I'm seeing everything and all that sort of stuff, and it's quite overawing when it happens. And like I said, that's got fuck all to do with forgiving anyone by that point. So it's it says in the letter he's starting to learn to recognise it and deal with it. I told him the story about the bloke saying whatever it was I felt I heard him say, and I commented on, I knew it took a lot for me to believe it, but I knew just logic was enough for me to go, that can't have happened, and I retained that and I left the shop. And he was exactly the same as I was with that sort of method of, good, you recognised it, you've seen it for what it was. It was uncomfortable, unpleasant, and frightening. But what you did was you managed the situation by recognising that it was taking place. Trying to stop it may well be fucking futile. Go the fuck home and stay the fuck home. Right here, right now, it's a coping strategy when all else fails. It's like if you go to anger management, keep smashing things up. At some point, they will say, if all else fails, punch something. Punch a pillow and punch a cushion. It's better than doing something ridiculously stupid. But again, it's like, as I've been saying all along, there's just so little that needs to change in society. There's so little that needs to change. It's like people get to a point where they can't just be told that they're all right, or that they're worth loving, or that everyone loves them, or that they're smashing it, or they've got this, or a lot of the other stuff, and it's just, it doesn't work anymore. Some people get to that point and they do have to just accept it. You know, it's just, it's there. It's just there because it looks like things that can be rationalized with. And again, quoting the profession, he said, when it gets to that point where that cross was on that graph, it cannot be reasoned with. It's as real as shit to me, is what that means. It's as real as fucking shit to me. And I think I've given it a proven track record of trying things your way. Because, like I say, a lot of these are ancient fucking issues and have been causing all sorts of, they're presented in extremes of emotion throughout my whole life. I've never been emotionally stable, ever. I've always been a crier, a screamer, a rager, a door slammer, a stomp offer, a fucking throw shit, break stuff, and snap toother, all that. I've always been highly fucking strung. I ain't gonna fucking change anytime soon, mate. Really. It just needs to be flavoured with love, gratitude, and support, is what it needs. And it's still squirming and worming its way around a very confusing place. And it needs to find a belonging. And when it finds a belonging, it will grow and flourish. And that's where my energy can be good and I can reconnect with my energy. So that's what I'm learning to do. And that's what the DBT was sort of saying as well. But it's still, anyone that knows me will know that there will be a huge fucking I was right and you're not to this. But again, it's another one of the simple things. And I've forgotten it. I've fucking forgotten it. Temporarily, of course. It was. Yes, accept it. Accept it. It's okay to accept it. It's okay to accept it as horrible and gripping and whatever, however you experience it. Because it's real. So just experience it and go, and it's fucking shit, and it's a fucking shit feeling. It's a fucking shit feeling. But it's only now. What I need to do, and this is what I'm learning to do, and this stuff I'm going to be sharing as I go through it. Because it can't be easy to just learn to cope with something that can overtake your entire reality and really make you think that shit's happening when it isn't, or make you respond as if shit's happening when it isn't. And then knowing that it isn't, but then this feeling urging you to think that it could be. And it becomes bothersome and wearisome in spades, mate. So, yeah, that's going to be fucking hard. But it's like, I discovered it. When was it? It was when I was living in my camper on my driveway before I moved out of my flat. And everyone thought I was mad because I had a flat and I lived in a camper. And I was like, I'm selling the flat because I want to live in a camper, and I've got both. Which fucking one do you think I'm going to live in? And they didn't get it. Anyway, it was when I was in there, and I had one of my little episodes, and I just went, okay, sit with it. I think it was the first time I really did it, and I remember writing about it. I wrote about quite a few. It was when I was starting to get quite candid with my writing, leading up to me doing this shit, to be honest. But I just fucking sat with it, and it's like, it is what it is. It's just, it happens. Because when it starts happening in the midst of your high flying attitude and seeing gratitude from where it is and giving love and thanks for it and being positive and sending out positive vibes to people and just encouraging and loving and respecting and just doing all that shit and knowing it's going to start flowing because it always has, and it's like, and you keep getting booted up the fucking arse by it. You have to go, do you know what? It happens anyway. Regardless of people shouting at me that it doesn't happen and it's all in my, it happens anyway. Regardless of what people think, I think, and you think, it happens anyway. So that's the key. That is the key to it. Is learning to cope with something that makes you want to fucking curl up and die. And makes you wonder what the fuck is the point of even trying. And all of those feelings that I know a lot of you go through. And it's just to different degrees, isn't it? It's just to different degrees. And I've been fucking just in a more severe level of it for a more prolonged period of time. That's just the reality. I'm not sitting here going, I'm fucking different and I'm totally special and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no. I'm experiencing something that a lot of people experience at different levels. And they are able to cope with it at different, to different degrees. And mine have just been an ability to cope down here with a level of it up there. And that's that's what it's been for a little while, but that doesn't mean it can't change. And I do need to learn and grow, which I will. But, elements of it are always going to be there. And the thing is, whenever I mention it, the flip side, with that binary society, the flip side is always, you're living under a label of it, you're identifying as an illness. And no, that's an assumption, darling. That's an assumption. It's not the truth. Just because someone says, I have this, it doesn't mean that they are automatically identifying it. It is reasonable to suppose that one could interpret it that way when looking at it from over there, if they choose to. But just because that is their paradigm, that is their view of the world, does not mean that that is what has taken place. That is what a lot of the time why I shout, is because I start to say something and they hear a label, they hear the proclamation of something, and at that point interrupt because they think they know what I'm saying. These have happened. These types of arguments have happened. That's the point when I start to no, you're wrong. And straight away, they tell me I'm interrupting. They encounter Mikey logic in its full force because they have just fucking interrupted me. And they tell me to stop interrupting. And that just confuses me so much, it infuriates me. And I shout. And it's just ridiculous because if both of us were sitting down and were able to just talk about the bits that we've meant, I might get my point across. But I know I take ages to get my point across. But I do, because there's so many pitfalls of when I'm misinterpreted. It just must be my turn of phrase, the way I understand, the way I conceptualise. But believe me, it happens a lot. And believe me, if it happened as much to you as it did to me, you would think you're different. Because I have spent so much of my time with my communication has been spent explaining myself for things that I think, or things that I've done when I'm telling a story. And why did you do that? Interrupt my story to psychoanalyze me. Why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? It's like, well, you've already answered one of those questions by asking the other one. Because you know why I didn't do that one. Because I did that one. The one that you're asking about. That's Mikey logic. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle, so I'll wrap this up. Oh, 13:33.